Hi, I'm Jamie Dreyer with Overhaul Training. In this video, I want to talk to you about a question that I received recently from one of my subscribers, Diane Stockwell. Diane was saying how she gets neck pain when she works on the computer. And I think this is a very common issue, and I think it's worth delving into a little bit deeper. So before I do, I want to just share a couple of my assumptions. There's a lot of different ways that we can sit and different postural things that we all do as individuals while we're on the computer. So I'm just going to go ahead and clarify what the perspective that I'm going to come from about how most of us are going to sit posturally while we're working on the computer, right? So the first thing is we're going to be quite kyphotic because a lot of us will just kind of start to slump and we're looking at the screen. So we round our upper backs and we start to get a forward head posture. And that's going to cause our pecs, anterior delts to get tight, our upper back to be a little overstretched, and then our cervical extensors to get a little tight as well. We're also going to get a bit of a forward shoulder posture. And then depending on how much we're using a mouse or a trackpad, we're also going to start to have all this tension coming up through our shoulder and then into our neck because we're moving our arm around like this for such a long extended period of time. All right, so those are my assumptions about how most people sit at a computer. Now I'm going to go ahead and take you through my 4-step process for fixing chronic pain from overuse injuries and kind of show you how I use that process to address these specific issues. And just for a quick review, my 4-step process includes 1, identify the offending activity, 2, stop or reduce the offending activity, 3, release trigger points, and 4, it's all about strengthening weak tissues. So here we go, from the top. Step 1, we've already identified the offending activity. It's sitting at the computer. So on to step 2, stop or reduce. The fact of the matter is we're not going to stop using the computer. It's very, very likely that we're going to stop because of this neck pain. So what are some of the things that we can do to reduce its impact on us? And I've got 2 things that are pretty straightforward and simple, but they make a huge difference. The first thing is to look at the height of the monitor and where you have it at. I know I myself quite often have it sitting on the table and it's a low height. It's below eye level. So in order to get a better look at the screen, we drop down to it. One thing that we could do is just raise the monitor up to what our normal good posture eye level would be, and that makes a huge impact on how we sit right there. The next thing that we could do is, I've noticed that when many people use a mouse, there's a tendency of kind of holding that arm up over the table a little bit so you can move it around. And there ends up being this low grade but long duration tension up throughout your shoulder and neck. And that can create a lot of problems. So depending on what type of computer and what type of programs you're working on, you might be able to switch over to something like a trackpad that I have there. Because what I've noticed is when I use a trackpad, my arm is much more relaxed on the table and supported, and I'm just moving my fingertips. And that greatly reduces the amount of pain and tension that goes through my neck and shoulders. So that's a couple of things we can do for reducing its impact. Moving on to step 3, releasing trigger points. Quick review, trigger points are basically contracted bundles of muscle tissue that are in a shortened position and they end up feeling pretty tender. You might also refer to them as knots, all right? So we can start to reduce these knots and trigger points by seeing a massage therapist, get some acupuncture done, but there's also things that you could do on your own at home with a few very simple pieces of equipment. So where are we going to need to address this first, right? So some of the tight spots that are going to have trigger points, it might be your pecs, your anterior shoulder, there might be some stuff up along your back and even along in your neck. So I will at times use a foam roller, and you can lie on your back and dig into the back of your skull, the base of your skull where a lot of your neck muscles tie in. It's a little awkward, but sometimes I'll even do it on my pec and my anterior delt while lying on the floor. But you could also get a lacrosse ball to dig more easily into your pec and anterior delt, maybe leaning up against a wall. That's something that you could do. And then another thing that you can work on that's a little bit different is using a peanut mold. And I'll actually use this to help free up some of the tissue and some of the trigger points that might be in my upper back. And you basically, using a peanut bulb, it's 2 tennis balls taped together, and you lie on your floor. You can actually watch my video that I'll give you a link so you can see how this works. But essentially, this helps to mobilize your upper back, but while it's doing it, it digs into some of the tight muscles, helps them stretch out a little bit, and frees up adhesions in the connective tissue. That's the peanut bulb. Now, once you dug in and freed up some of the tissues, I do think it helps after that point to stretch. So you've gotten them to relax. Now I want to get some of the proper length back in the tissues. So that could be, you know, an anterior pec stretch where your hand might be on a table, or sometimes I'll just get up, throw my fist behind my hip, and stretch it that way. I'll sometimes even feel my shoulder click back into position when I know I've gotten a good stretch. Then you might want to get into a door frame or on the uprights of a squat rack to help stretch out that pec. And now you're starting to open up this whole front area and create space so it allows your shoulders and your posture to get back there. And the next thing you might want to do is the muscles in your upper cervical spine are a little bit tight and shortened position from being here, right? So I'll actually do a stretch like so, where I close my mouth, push down on my chin, pull my head forward, and stretch those muscles in the back of the neck, and that helps quite a bit also. If you're a big mouse person and you've got a lot of tension in your trap, you might want to grab maybe the edge of a table, right, and just kind of, or a heavy barbell, and kind of stand up into it so it pulls your shoulder down. And then if you've got a lot of extra tension on the side of your neck, the sides of your neck, and your scalenes and whatnot, you can always grab the side of your seat and do a stretch for your scalenes, or you can also go at an angle, kind of like you're sniffing your armpit, and stretch your levator on the back side. I'm not going to go too deep into the specifics, because this can be a really long video if I do, but I want to give you some general concepts, and you can look deeper on the web for how to do these specific things, some of which I already have videos on my channel for. That's releasing the trigger points. Let's now move on to strengthening the weak tissues. So the first thing that we keep leading off with is this kyphotic posture. We want to strengthen your thoracic extensors. And an exercise that I like to use for that, I call the dynamic Sphinx. You can click the link, and again, I have a video for that, and that'll help give you some ideas on how you can engage that upper thoracic spine to get that posture back. The next thing we want to do is get the shoulders back, and I'm going to do a variety of horizontal pulling exercises for that. It could be using a pulley and cable system for some face pulls. I typically attach a rope, like a tricep rope for something like that. Or you can use an incline bench and 2 dumbbells and do some chest-supported rows. When I do these horizontal pulling exercises, I like to do them bilaterally instead of unilaterally, because I like the extra little pinching of the shoulder blades. It feels like a deeper contraction. It helps reset my posture better that way. Just my preference. The next thing that we want to address now, right, so we've gotten the kyphotic posture, the forward shoulders, and now we want to start strengthening some of your deep cervical flexors to counter all that stuff in the extensors. And this one's really simple. I'm going to put my tongue on the roof of my mouth, close it, and then I'm going to try and get my chin as close to my clavicle, kind of tucked down low as I can. And while I'm down there, I'm going to hold it for a few seconds. It might feel a little weird if you've never done any type of deep cervical flexor work, but it should actually start to feel quite a bit better very quickly. And it just looks like this. And you could do a few different angles. You want to play in different ways so you can kind of strengthen different parts of the muscle fibers. But that's how I go about addressing the chronic issues that pop up from constantly sitting for hours and hours at a computer. My name is Jamie Dreyer. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. If you liked the video, show me a little love and hit the like button. But more importantly, if you've got some questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments box and I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.